Okay, welcome to the day one video in the 30 Days of Code Challenge. This is called Data Types. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be receiving 3 lines of input from the standard in, from HackerRank, and we're going to need to change those into the proper data types in order to do some operations on them. So if they are numerical data, we're going to be adding them, and if they're string data, we're going to be concatenating them. So let's see what that looks like. So we've got several to-dos down here in the code. We're actually going to skip the first one. We don't need to declare any variables when we're working in Python. Python does not, you don't declare variables in Python, at least not in any normal sense. You may in some edge case want to declare a variable, but typically you don't declare variables in Python. You just use them. So what we're going to do is we're first going to receive the integer, which we're going to receive using the input command. But when we receive an input in Python, by default, it's going to be a string, and we want it to be an integer. So I'm going to wrap it in this int function, which is going to change the input into an integer. We're going to do the same thing with the d value. Python actually doesn't call them doubles. Python calls them floats. So I'm going to use the float command to change the input into a float. And then finally, I'm going to receive the string. Now, the string is going to be a string by default, so I'm not going to change it into anything. Now, we've got my I, my D, my S. We previously had an I, D, and S defined in the code. And what we're going to do now is we're going to combine these values in certain ways. So let's do the sum of the integers is going to be, we're going to use the sum function. And I'm going to put a list of values in here. Sum takes a compound object, either takes a list or a tuple. It can't work on single values. It takes a compound object. So I'm going to give it a list. And the list is going to be comprised of I and my I. And then I'm going to print that, print sum I. I'm going to do the same thing for the double. Sum D equals sum. I'm going to give it a list, D and my D, and I'm going to print that. And finally, I am going to concatenate the strings. So to concatenate in Python, you use the addition operator on string objects. So we're going to do S plus my S, and then I'm going to print that. And that is how you solve this problem. Let's run it to make sure that everything works well. Everything looks good. Let's hit submit. And there it goes.